and welcome to a new episode of Worlds Collide, the podcast where I talk to people who moved abroad. I am your host, Viktoria, and welcome. I'm really glad you tuned in. So, this week, my guest is Dami, and she just, and I mean just, arrived at her new place in Canada. So, we talk about like all the hurdles she's facing right now, what her step-by-step things are that she's doing, and like how she's liking it so far, and yeah, like everything she's facing in the beginning. So listen up closely. Here is Demi. All right, so my guest today is Demi. Hey, how are you?
Hi, Victoria. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a
Yeah,
pleasure.
I'm very curious to hear your story. So, where are you right now?
So, I'm in Canada. I'm currently in Toronto.
Uh-huh.
Um, and yeah, I've been, I've had a very interesting journey down here.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I'll just let you do the questions and then we'll talk about like any specific things that I could share. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. So when did you get to Canada?
So I arrived a month ago, so I'm still
Uh-huh.
fresh.
Yeah, super
There's,
fresh. Yeah.
yeah, there's so much information that I'm taking in all at once, which is a bit overwhelming. Um,
Okay.
yeah, last night I was just speaking to my sister-in-law and was like, she's in Nigeria, and
Uh-huh.
I was just telling her how overwhelming it is. I'm like, on some days I feel like I know what I'm doing, and on some days I'm like, this is just falling apart.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay, let me just ask you, I want to go into this a little bit more, why it is so overwhelming, but I want to ask you, why did you choose Canada? Why did you, yeah, choose to move there?
All right, so I've had an interesting journey, like I mentioned. When I was, I think, 21, I moved from Nigeria, which is where I was born and raised,
Uh-huh.
to Australia to study.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And that was where my whole adventure and traveling started. I mean, I traveled before then, but that was like the official, like packing your bags and leaving family and friends
Right.
to a new place. So I moved to Australia in 2015, and I studied there. I did my master's degree. I worked for a while, lived there, then decided to do my PhD. And then after my PhD, I wanted to explore other countries. And I had a friend who lives in Canada. And she was
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh, why don't you just, apply like for permanent residency? Like, you don't have to come if you don't want to. You might want to stay in Australia. You might like Australia." And I was like, "Okay, it doesn't hurt to try." And I tried and I got it. But I wasn't ready to move because
Uh-huh.
now at this point in Australia, I was feeling a bit more um, comfortable. Like I was already knowing things. I had friends, started building networks there.
So
So
it was also like almost 10 years then
yes,
that you were
almost
in
10
Australia?
years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's a long
So
time.
yeah, that's a long time. Yeah, I feel like that was home at that point.
Yeah.
I didn't even feel like Nigeria was home anymore because now that was my new home. And so towards at the end of my PhD, I just decided that I think it's time to just, take up on that Canadian experience that I wanted to a few years
Uh-huh.
ago. And yeah, I decided to pack my bags again.
Okay.
And to start a new life and start afresh because that's what it feels like. Yeah, so that was why I decided to move. I had this opportunity years ago and I decided to like take up on it in 2024. Yeah.
Okay. And also like going back home
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Nigeria,
yeah.
why did you then decide to leave?
I wanted to go study. I wanted to
Uh-huh.
do my master's. Plus, I'm just the kind of girl who just loves challenges. I was really young in my early
Uh-huh.
20s and I felt like I just feel like this is not enough. I felt like I wanted more from what I was getting back in Nigeria. I was
Okay.
working at that point, but I just felt like there's something a lot more outside of this bubble that I'm living. And I had a
Okay.
friend who traveled at that point, so I was like, oh, maybe traveling is what it is. So yeah, let's try and study elsewhere. Yeah.
And why why did you pick a
Australia.
place so far away?
Good question. I'll be very honest with you. I actually wanted to go to Canada first. I wanted to come to Canada
Ah,
first. I applied to study at a university in Canada, but I didn't get the degree I wanted to get. And at that point, I was just like, maybe I should just try another country. Like I didn't even try
uh-huh.
another university. To be honest, I just want
Okay.
um, maybe we could try Australia, and I tried Australia, and I got the degree I wanted, and I got yeah, and I just like yeah, I didn't think too much. That's the thing. I wasn't thinking at all at that point.
Right. I mean, that's a beauty of being young, you know. You're
Yes.
just like so naive sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's like it leads you to a different new path.
Yes. Yes. Agree. Yeah. Agree.
Yeah. And so, okay, so now you're in Canada a month, and you said like you have a lot of ups and downs. Can you like explain a little bit? Like why is it so hard?
Um, look, like you said, when you're young, you're naive and you just like go for things and you're not thinking too much. I think that was my experience moving to Australia. But for moving to Canada, I'm much more older
Uh-huh.
now. And I feel like I'm just thinking through everything.
Uh-huh.
And that's the difference between my moving from Nigeria to Australia and my moving from Australia to Canada, is that now it just feels like I also am a bit more knowledgeable about how the Western system works, right?
Right.
From my experience living in Australia. So it's like I know that this is how things should be working. And so I'm like, I want this to be done so quickly. Like I want to be settled really quickly. But then
Yeah.
I need to also remind myself that like settling down in a new place takes time. But I
Mhm.
just want to go back to how I was living in Australia, which is like comfortable and like, stable and settled. Yeah. So I think that's what's giving that like uncertainty. That's what's giving that, yeah.
Mhm.
And also like, I mean, I don't have close friends and close networks
Okay. What
as
about
I
your
do.
friend that is in Canada? Is she at
Yeah.
least in Toronto or is she somewhere
She,
else? It's
yes,
far. I mean, it's a big country.
I do have I do have some friends in Toronto, and I do have a friend in Vancouver, which is where I landed initially. Um, but I think it's a lot different from like the several connections and acquaintances that you have. Like, this is just one friend or two
Mhm.
friends. It's kind of different,
Yeah.
and also like I'm technically not still s- settled in that sense.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I do have a friend. I'm really grateful for the friend actually, because to be honest, I feel like a lot of my settling would have been a lot more chaotic than it is
Oh,
now if I
yeah,
did not
okay.
know a single soul. Um,
Mhm.
which is interesting because when I moved from Australia, from Nigeria to Australia, I didn't know a single soul, and I didn't find it chaotic. I was just swimming through the waters. So yeah,
Also, but also like it's a difference if you move there to go studying, you know, because you are already in a pool full of people who want like social engagements,
yes.
and like now you're not a student anymore.
Thank you for actually saying that. That actually makes my day a bit much better today, knowing that. Because I've just been doing a lot of comparison. I was like, oh, but when I moved to Australia, it was a bit better. But why is it like harder now? But that makes a lot of sense now that you've mentioned that. Yeah.
Okay. I kind of feel so smart now.
Yeah.
No. Um, how did you then, let's say, find a place to stay?
I'm still finding a place to stay, so I don't have
What is this in the background then? Is this not your apartment?
it's not it's a I'm living at a friend's house in
Uh-huh. Okay,
Toronto.
good. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And which is really such a very comfortable space, and I knew this friend through my friend from Vancouver,
Uh-huh.
so I'm sort of like building my network
Yeah,
gradually,
uh-huh.
so that's nice. I'm still hoping to get my own place. I'm also hoping to get like a job as well, which is another important part of living, because you need to pay your bills,
Yeah, yeah.
your
Also, you
spending.
also need to find a job.
Yeah, so I need to find a
Oh, wow. So
job.
everything.
Everything, yes.
Everything.
Yeah. So I need to find a job. I need to find a place to stay. I think if I have those two, I feel like everything would sort of okay, I don't want to tie my happiness to like two things, right? But like
Right,
I feel like
right.
I feel a bit more settled in that sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And do you just look for a job in Toronto, or are you willing to move anywhere in the country if you find the right position?
I mean, I'm able to move anywhere, but I'm a bit biased because I feel like Toronto has, personally, I could be wrong. From what I've observed, I feel like there's a lot more opportunities for what I
Mm-hmm.
want to do here, which is why
Okay.
I'm here.
Uh-huh.
But I do feel like if I find something stronger, like I've casted my net really wide to the entire, maybe not the entire Canada, but like two or the three other provinces.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if I do get a very, very good opportunity, obviously I'm not gonna say that yeah, it has to be Toronto. I'm gonna
Right.
move. But yeah, this is my first preference and that's why I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what else did you have to do recently? So you had to get like a social security number or
Yes,
something?
I had to get a social insurance number. That's what they call it here.
Yeah.
Which never heard of that before. Like we did not have that in Australia. I think
Okay.
like how everyone was telling you, make sure you keep this number safe. Like make sure you don't tell anyone. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
why are you
Okay.
giving out the number if you don't want anyone to know?
Yes. Make sure you don't lose it.
Make
Yes.
sure you don't lose it. Make sure, yeah. I mean, for security reasons, I understand. But it's just an interesting part of living here that I found, yeah, really interesting. I guess the other thing I noticed, like in terms of like some cultural differences between here and um where I'm coming
Australia
from,
or
Australia,
Nigeria?
yeah, is the tax system. So how you go to like the shops to get something and then what you see on the
The
shelf isn't the final price.
Oh, because they also add the tax at the counter
Yes.
in the end.
And they
Yes.
add like the provincial tax and they add the federal tax. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I need to see everything. I need to know how much I want to pay for.
Uh-huh.
I think I'm getting used to that now. I think the more I buy things, I'm like, okay, okay. Like what you're seeing is not the final. You could get
Yes.
shocked at the
Yes.
end.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And also that like if you're buying things online, that's also applicable. So um if if you ship things to maybe Alberta, you probably have a lower tax than if you ship things to your house in
Right.
Toronto.
Because you
So
have a different
yeah,
sales tax percentage.
yes, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, that's here
Um,
in the US as well.
okay.
Uh-huh.
So that's a shock to me. I
Yeah.
think also like the transport system very there's a lot of similarities as well. Like the transport system is quite similar, but I think I'm not sure if it's the same in Toronto, but I noticed that in Vancouver that the trains and then this my Australian friends would be like, yeah, I mean, yeah, but I just noticed that like in Australia the trains had train drivers,
Uh-huh.
but here in Canada, I noticed that they did not or they do not actually. The ones I got on
Mm-hmm.
in Vancouver did not. I'm not sure about Toronto. I haven't tried going on the train in Toronto. Um,
They're like driverless.
yeah, driverless, yes,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was cool. I was like, this is forward thinking. In Australia,
Yeah.
you need to catch up.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, what other things? I feel like there's the people here are very lot more friendlier. I'm not saying that Australians are not friendly. I know Australians are friendly. I've stayed there for 10 years, so obviously that's the only reason why I was staying in the place for that long.
Right.
People are a lot more. It's very multicultural as well, which makes me feel like um, I mean, obviously I'm a visible minority, but I feel like it still feels a lot more inclusive and like diverse as much as I would
Mm-hmm.
have expected it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really great and also helps,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of navigating like spaces and feeling welcomed in spaces. Yeah.
Right. Do you feel you blend in more?
I think so. I like
Yes.
I visit actually the interesting thing is I visited Canada 2 years ago and the reason and when I came 2 years ago to visit, I felt like the air was different. It just felt really like welcoming. Um and I thought then that it was because I was visiting because when you visit a place it's different from when you're living in a place.
Right, right, of course.
So now that I'm here, I feel like it's the same in terms of that welcome feeling. Like, yeah.
Mhm.
Mm.
And so I wonder the whole time, like, where in Australia were you?
I was in Melbourne the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Melbourne has a little bit of seasons, right?
Yes.
So but Canada now isn't it like super cold for you right now?
A good question. It's super cold and I've been layering.
Mhm.
Which is something I was telling my friend. I was like, I did never used to layer in Australia.
Yeah.
I'm layering now, so at least I'm keeping myself warm. I'm actually not a like I really do not like a cold space. So when I told people I was moving to Canada, they were like, "Yeah, wrong place for you."
Yeah. I guess,
Um,
yes.
but I'm coping. The houses are a lot more insulated
Okay, then
compared
in
to
Australia,
Victoria.
uh-huh.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
makes
guess if you're
sense.
indoors, you feel warm. you know, that I can deal with because I'm that kind of person. If I'm sitting at a spot, I need to be warm. And I think the thing that really frustrated me with the weather in Australia, in Melbourne actually, was that um inside would just be as cold as outside, if not colder
Mhm.
during winter.
Uh-huh.
Um, in summer is actually as hot as outside. So
Right.
yeah. Um,
And how in Nigeria?
Nigeria was very tropical. It was
Okay.
warm. The 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 climate was actually very much tropical. I really liked it there because it was really hot. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
It was really hot and um I guess dusty and a bit polluted. The air was just like not as clear and crisp.
Okay.
Like my friends in Nigeria always say that if you take a photo on the same phone you have in Nigeria and then travel overseas, like just go anywhere, maybe to the UK, US, or Canada, the picture you take in those spaces are a lot more different from the pictures you take
Just
in
because
Nigeria.
the air is not blurry or something,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
more
just
clear.
the air is not clear. It's just polluted and it's just dusty and
Oh,
humid
wow.
sort of
Okay.
vibes. Yeah. So, but I mean, I stayed there for what 22 years and survived it. I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
Loved that my family was close by, and that's something I still like miss till date.
Yeah. What else do you have to do in Canada? So the first couple of days, was it just running errands? Like, I mean, you just said the insurance
Yeah.
number and then opening a bank account.
Yeah, so opening a bank account and being told by everyone that you need to get a credit card because you need to get your credit score on
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
way.
yeah.
Which is to me, I feel like it's making me feel like now I'm becoming a proper adult.
I
um,
know. But is it also as hard then if you find a place to stay that you don't have a credit report?
I think that's probably going to be part of the reasons why I actually got a credit card and start spending and trying to like build up my
Yeah.
credit score because a lot of accommodations I'm seeing now are asking for, and it feels like too much actually. Like I saw this listing that was asking for your pay stop. So your pay stop, I'm not sure if it's called
Uh-huh.
the same thing in the US, but for those people who probably are listening from other parts of the world, it could be your pay slip or like your something
Your
that shows your
income.
income, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
your employment letter,
Uh-huh.
um, your your credit score.
Right.
A
And
ref,
if
a
you are
ref,
super new, you don't have any of
yes,
this,
I
right?
don't have any. Literally, don't have any of this. So I'm like, where? How? I actually
How
messaged someone and said I'm new to the country. How am I gonna get all these things? And I'm not sure if this is legal, honestly. And the person was like, yeah, you have to pay 12 months rent.
Ah!
I was like,
No, because
uh,
they don't trust you. They think like you're like
yeah, but
I
how?
mean, like, how do you gonna afford this?
How are you gonna? You probably. I feel like yeah, maybe they just expect that if you're new, you live in a place that doesn't require that much. Um,
Um, so um,
yeah,
so when I was first here
yeah,
in this country, I also didn't have any of this, right? I
yeah,
didn't have like a credit report, and I didn't have a pay slip, but I did have like I had like an internship,
yeah.
right? So then I that was okay, but it was easier to find a place with roommates because you
Mm,
know then then whatever, you have like a conversation, and if you like them, they might make a exception or
Yeah,
something. It was like I got along with the main tenant really well, and then
yeah,
she was like, oh yeah, that works. But I think like it probably is easier when you maybe have a job first in line. I don't know. I mean,
yeah. I'm thinking that that's probably what I would approach, how I would approach it. Get a job in line first, and then find an accommodation that like I need to share with someone, like a roommate, and hopefully they are someone who yeah wouldn't require as much if from me.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. I always say this as a joke. I'm like, I feel like the only thing they haven't asked for is my kidney. Yeah, because it's just too much personal information. How about they also provide like references from their previous tenants to show that they've been good house owners or landlords?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that would be a.
But
Uh-huh.
yeah, the housing market is not fair anyway. So I'm coming into the country at a time where like there's literally fewer accommodations and
And was this something that you were worried about when you left Australia? And were
yes.
you just like, "Oh, I'll do it anyway?"
No,
Or
no.
was
Yeah.
it like maybe at some point you were like, "Maybe I start looking for a job first, and then
Yeah.
I will like get my way over there?"
Yeah, I actually started looking for jobs when I was in Australia,
Uh-huh.
in Canada,
Okay.
but it didn't feel real because like I didn't have a number. I didn't have a Canadian number.
Ah, okay.
I had an address, which was my friend's address, and that's what I was putting on my resume. But it just didn't feel real. Like I had to I had to change my LinkedIn profile, but at that time I was still working, so I didn't want to like change the profile while I'm
Right,
still
that would
over
be
there.
weird.
Yeah, that would be
Yes.
weird. But then my LinkedIn was still showing like Melbourne, Australia, and I was reaching out to people saying, "Hey, can I get a job in Canada?" So I just felt like recruiters were not taking me seriously.
Right, because they
Um,
also just want to have somebody that is like available
yeah, that
then
is there.
sooner.
Yeah. And yeah, since then, since I've moved, I've also like spoken to a lot more people to understand how to approach searching for jobs, and I've gotten a lot more insight. So I guess I feel a lot more equipped and well informed than I was while I was in
Mhm.
Australia. Yeah.
Mhm.
It was a big concern of mine. Like, how am I going to get a job before I come here? How am I going to settle down? Also, I believe so much in having a very healthy community, and that's
Mhm.
also something that I've been thinking about as well. So there's a lot to think about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How do you approach that?
I'm still in the process.
Uh-huh, yeah. Tell me about
Actually,
it.
when I arrived in Vancouver, I before I arrived, actually, I followed a couple of like pages on Facebook and Instagram and groups that were like very closely aligned with me. So I followed like some Black Women's Connect. I also followed some professional networks and like friends in Vancouver, friends in Toronto, looking for female friends, like all of those Facebook groups that people like set up to, I guess,
Yeah.
meet new people. Um, I I made a post in one of those groups to just introduce myself, which is something I've never ever done. So
But
that
you're
was like,
desperate.
yeah, and I
No
actually met
stepping
like
out, that's good.
I met a lot of people who reached out to me. A lot of people reached out to me, and I met two good people that I'm now like talking to, and that's really nice. But obviously, just meet them. I think
Yeah.
I've met them at least twice in the last 1 month.
Uh-huh.
But that was in Vancouver. Now I'm in Toronto. I have to repeat that thing again.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it feels exhausting.
Okay. So what are your days like then?
Yeah. So a day in my life would be um getting up, and because I finished my PhD last year, so I still have a bit for my dissertation that I want to publish. So I'm
Uh-huh.
doing a bit of research on that.
Uh-huh.
And
What did you make your PhD in?
my PhD was on social media networks and like I'll just be like, so I'll just explain it briefly because my brain always freezes when someone
Yeah,
asks me
yeah,
what my I'm trying to explain it in a way that you probably would understand. So I was looking at Facebook between 2019 and 2023. I was also trying to look at how Australians in several Facebook groups were talking about vaccines and how that might have influenced people's understanding of vaccination in general. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's like the influence of social media, kind of.
Yes, the influence of
Uh-huh.
social media and like on and the power of social media in talking about such topics.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So my area of expertise is in social media platforms and
Mm-hmm.
communication. Um and oh yeah. So yeah, I
So
don't know
yeah,
how
okay.
else.
So my
So
question
yeah,
before
yeah.
was like, what
So
is your day to day like?
yeah.
Sorry,
So
I'm just refreshed.
yeah. Thank you. Because I was like, what were we saying? Right. So I do a bit of research on that front because I'm trying to publish. So I'm trying not to be idle. I cannot even be idle because I feel like my brain always picks on something to do. Um, I also still have some connections with some professors in Australia that I'm collaborating on other research work with.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I meet up with them online on Teams. With the time
Mm-hmm.
difference, it could be sometimes at night. But that also keeps me busy. I also, like I also have a DJ page, so I professionally DJ as well.
Uh-huh. Are you
So,
also looking to do that in Toronto?
yes, I'm looking. I heard that this is like the place I should be if I want to do like the entertainment side of things. So,
Okay.
um,
Right. I
yeah.
mean, I know Canada is really big in the music.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So I'm also hoping to explore like the Canadian music because when I was in Australia, I really went so deep into like local Australian sounds and like songs from like First Nations peoples in Australia and like just other artists that are just starting up and I really
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed that part of exploring music and I'm hoping that I can actually do that here in Toronto. So that would also require me going out a lot more. Um
I mean, that's a good way to meet people too,
Yeah, that's a
right?
good way to meet people. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah.
It sounds
It's
fun though. I mean, I
I
don't.
know like it sounds fun, but I feel like it's exhausting too as
Yeah,
well.
it is exhausting. Also, like when you look for a job that is
Mm,
maybe has not the same times as
mm,
DJing, you
yeah.
have no time to sleep, kind
Yeah.
of.
Hopefully not. I'm hoping I'm able to balance it
Uh-huh.
well. Yeah. And and I think I just need a daily reminder that like I need to take it like one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not gonna happen in 6 months. It's not gonna happen in 2 months. It's
Right.
gonna happen over time. And one day I'm just gonna wake up and be like, oh wow, love Canada.
Yeah.
I'm settled here.
Yeah, no, that will take time
Yeah,
settling.
yeah.
Uh-huh. And so tell me, like in your first month,
Hmm.
so what are the things that you really like? You said already that it's more multicultural.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. And there other things as well that you really appreciate? Driverless trains?
Driverless train. I know that sounds really like superficial, but yeah, I thought it was cool. What else do I like, to be honest? I feel like I should have drawn up a list. Um, I think when I visited 2 years ago, I actually had a list of things I really liked compared to now. But I think I'm just so much overwhelmed by a lot of things that I can't
Mhm.
even
Yeah.
pick things apart. But I think I should actually go out every day looking at what I like.
I think
Looking at,
though
yeah,
you make a really nice example with showing people how the beginning can be,
yeah,
because a lot of people always just think like, "Oh, I'm moving abroad. It will be so much
yeah,
fun. It will be so whatever, so
yeah,
great." And everybody only sees the positive, but so
yeah,
it's good to
mhm,
show that it's hard in the beginning.
yeah. I think that I think it depends on the circumstances to which you're moving. Like you mentioned something really important when you said that when I moved initially to Australia, I was going to study. So that might be exciting if you're going to study.
Yeah.
Um, but if you're just moving like for work or you're moving permanently, I think there's going to be more days of confusion than days of like
Mm-hmm.
clarity.
Yeah, in the
There's going to
beginning,
be
yes.
in the beginning, there's going to be more days of like anxiety than days of calmness. I think it's what I've also found that works for me to like be grounded is to go for walks, and that also helps me
Mm-hmm.
explore where I am. So I'm current
Mm-hmm.
where I currently am. I've like walked almost like 40 meters, 40 minutes, not meters, 40 minutes in one direction, and have like explored like new areas already just by walking. And I really like
Yeah.
that it's a walkable city that I'm in, so it's easy to just like find my way around.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I'm trying to get is obviously a driver's license. So,
You
which
have to do that still?
yeah, I need to convert my Australian license
Ah,
actually.
okay. You don't have to do like a test again?
I think I might because I haven't been driving for too long in Australia. So I
Uh-huh.
might need to do the final because they do have two levels of test. So there's one level you do and you get like one license, and then you drive for maybe 2 years, and then you get another. I'm not sure if they call it G1, G2. I don't want to say things I'm not sure of. But yeah, there's ideally two levels of test you do for driving. I think I wouldn't do one because I've already gotten one done in Australia, but I need to drive for another 2 years and then I'll be qualified for the second one, which is the final
Okay.
one. Also, like if I'm getting a driver's license, it means I'm hoping to get a car, and I don't know. I'm too like yeah,
Do you
God.
need a car though in Toronto?
In Toronto, maybe not, but then depending on where I end up getting a
Yeah,
job.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it all depends on where I end up getting the job. I don't think it's really a necessity at this point. I just have that at the back of my mind that that's something that might happen. But
Mhm.
then like also I'm happy like to not have a car, to be honest, because that's
Yeah.
less financial burden
Right.
on yeah. So I mean going for walks has really helped me to like clear my head, process
Mhm.
things a lot more. It, and I will be very honest, like I think moving has also taken me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I'm that kind of person who would probably just keep to myself not 100%, like maybe 80%
A
of the
lot
time,
more, yeah.
get more. But I feel like I've had to like put myself out there, like talk
Mhm.
to people, um try new things, which I enjoy doing, but like trying new things with people. There's something I just and please stop me if I'm rambling or talking too much.
Oh, go ahead.
But there's something I just discovered, which is like going out to like parties alone or going out to event alone without feeling really awkward. I wouldn't have done that while I was in Melbourne. I
I would
put
not do it.
yeah, you can't do that. Yeah. So in
So how is
Melbourne,
it?
if I wanted to go out alone, I'd probably go out alone shopping or going to the cinemas. But here, I went out to a party because I wanted to meet people there. Right? I don't know them before, but I knew they were going there, and I told them I'll show up. These people are not my friends, so I don't expect to hang out with them. Right?
Mhm.
So I went to the party, and I find that like just standing or sitting at a spot where you can actually have a good view of the entire space, and then just people watch.
Yeah.
And like once in a while you could have a look at your phone, which is what most people do if they're alone, but like not too much. So then occasionally I'll just have a look at my phone, and then most times I'll look up and then just have a smiley and relaxed and friendly face. I found that a lot of people were coming to talk to me and like, oh hey, like love your outfit, or and
Uh-huh.
I'm like, yeah, thank you. And from there, like I struck up conversations with like two different people.
Right.
Obviously, like I
Okay.
didn't make friends at that point, but at least I at different points in the event I got talking to people, and I wasn't like, oh, I need to go home, or I wasn't feeling
Right.
sleepy.
And it feels good too, right? To
Yeah,
like socialize.
it
It's
feels
like good
good
for the soul.
for the soul. Yes, yes, but it's very daunting. Like, um,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've done that once. I think I'm going to looking. No, I've done that twice actually. I've done that twice. So I'm looking to do more of that now, and that's something I wouldn't have done if I hadn't moved to any
Mm-hmm.
place.
And
Yeah.
how do you find those events or those parties?
I do a lot of research. I mean, for obvious
Yeah.
reasons, I
Is
go on
this like in your field
no,
of work, or is this just on your whatever hobby you
yeah,
have,
whatever
or?
hobby. So I could see like I could just go on Eventbrite and have a look at like what's happening around me. The other
Mm-hmm.
day I found one like a holiday sip and shop event. It was
A
free entry.
what? A holiday?
Holiday sip and shop. So you drink and then you shop for stuff. Like
Oh,
it
sip
was
and shop. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it was organized by the salon and they so it was a free entry, but then like you're not pressured to buy anything, but like the if you love the product you can buy.
Yeah,
I found that on Eventbrite, registered for it, rocked up, was really nice. Free food, free drinks, and opportunity to shop things at discounted rate. Um,
doesn't sound so bad.
doesn't sound so bad. Look, and I mean, I enjoyed my time. It was like an hour, 30 minutes in the place. Felt really good. I didn't feel really awkward too, so
Uh-huh.
it was really nice. The other one I found. How did I find the other one? Oh yeah, the other one I was going to meet people there who I follow on Instagram, and that's more of a DJ event
Okay.
space. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's how I found events. I think like this morning when I woke up, I was actually just scrolling through Eventbrite to see what's happening around my area.
Right.
Yeah. Um, Free events actually, because I don't want to spend too much money doing this. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Question. So when you decided that you're gonna move to Canada, did your family back home, did they maybe also wonder like, hey, why is she not coming back home to us? Or like
Uh,
why is she moving to Canada? So what did they say?
I think they were actually very happy that I made the decision to.
Uh-huh.
I think they're already comfortable with the idea that this girl is just very exploring and adventurous.
Right? Uh-huh.
Um, Coming back to Nigeria, I don't think they would actually advise that for me because um, Nigeria is like it's home. People are
Mhm.
living there. My family is living there, but I feel like the opportunities for me wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to like explore the kind of opportunities that I'm exploring like
Right.
living elsewhere.
Right.
It would always be home. In
Yeah.
it. So they're like, yeah, just do whatever you have to do, explore the world. Hopefully one day you can settle down and have a family.
Right. And do you visit often?
I think in the last 10 plus years I've visited just once.
Oh, just
Yeah,
once.
but my parents have had to visit me in
Okay,
Australia.
they came,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so they visited Australia, and my mom visited twice, my dad once, my brother once. So that's sufficient enough. Family can you can meet your family anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, nowadays I always feel like it's not. I mean, it's of course it's nicer when you can like have them close, but you have at least technology nowadays,
Yeah.
So like there's always like video calls.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier.
It does make it easier. It actually doesn't make it feel like you're not there because um you you definitely have that way to keep that connection going. I've
Mhm.
missed major milestones as well. Like, my brother had two kids all this while. I haven't
Mhm.
in the last 5 years. So
Right.
I've met them online and they only know me as that auntie on the phone.
Right.
But
Auntie on the phone, yeah.
I'm hoping that one day I'm able to see them as well. So this is the price you have to pay for like, looking out for greater opportunities in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's hypothetically say like we're already like 2 years in the future,
Mhm.
and all the settling is finally accomplished. But like so do you think there are like things where you can say you probably won't get used to it?
Can you come again with that question?
Okay, if you maybe can see already that there are things that you have trouble with
Mm.
getting used to,
Ah.
like in certain culture, or maybe like the weather, or
Yeah.
I don't know,
Mm.
Canadians. I mean, I don't know. They're just famous for being
Yeah.
really friendly, right?
Yeah. I think good question. I think the only thing I struggled getting used to when I was living in Australia, which I think is more of a Western world thing, is that spirit of community. Like people are a lot more individualistic than
Mm-hmm.
community based. And I know
Okay.
sometimes you can easily get like so zapped into that way of life, even as a migrant, that
Mm-hmm.
you start thinking that that's the norm, and it does a number on you, like mentally. I feel like we all need to be in like or we all need to have a community because we are human beings, we are social creatures, we need to connect, and not just like connecting, like going for walks or connecting, hanging out for brunch. I mean, connecting on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that I probably still miss compared to like in Nigeria. I feel like Nigeria has like you can't. Someone even said like you can't even be depressed. I mean, people are depressed, I'm not gonna like discount that, but like you always have people around you.
Mm-hmm.
You always have that community, and I think it takes a lot more intentionality to do that here because
Mm-hmm.
the culture is very. So I think that's something that I probably might miss. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping that I'm a bit more intentional with that, and I genuinely have. It takes extra effort to do it. Yeah, I'm hoping that that's not my case 2 years down the line, but I fear that that's probably gonna be it anyways.
Yeah, and maybe
Yeah,
probably in like 2 years you have like a little bit more of a community. Because
yeah,
I think once you started
mm,
a job, you also get like people
mm,
that you see on a day-to-day basis,
yeah,
so then it makes it easier to make friends, maybe with
yeah,
coworkers,
mm,
or I don't know, maybe like through your DJing.
yeah. I don't know what I'll miss, to be honest. That's the question, right? What would I?
Yeah, what would you miss too? I mean, I didn't ask, but yeah, I was wondering to ask that next.
What would I miss?
But I mean, did you miss anything when you were in Australia from Nigeria?
I missed my family. The
Mhm,
distance
yeah. Oh,
was like
yeah.
ridiculously far. I missed the food, like the authentic food. And
Right. It's
yeah,
probably hard to get,
yeah,
right?
and it's a
I
lot more
imagine.
expensive if you're buying it like in Australia. Um, what else did I miss? Yeah, I think those are like some of the things I missed. Um, and I was also like obviously living alone for the first time in my life because I always lived with parents while I was in
Mhm.
Nigeria. So I missed like being taken care of. I'm now like responsible for
Oh,
myself.
yeah.
So I miss, yeah, that kind of help. And
Yeah.
the help that you get as well. Because in Nigeria it's like affordable to get like a help. You can get a nanny, you can get a house like carer, all of that to
Okay.
look after the home. You wouldn't break the bank to do that. But
I
obviously,
guess. Okay, got it.
and I think that that might be something, if I like when I do settle down to have my own family, I feel like that might be something that I'll be like, oh no, 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 I miss that. And a lot of my friends who are raising kids miss that, you know.
Yeah, okay.
Also Nigeria is very like, a lot of Nigerians are very creative in their works. Like if you want to build a probably shelf or a wardrobe, like you don't have to go to like supermarkets and get a flat pack and combine.
Ah, okay. You just do it yourself.
No, that's the thing. You don't have to do it yourself. You can get people to do it for you at
Ah, okay,
very
got
good
it.
cheap rate. Do you get what
Oh,
I mean? There's a lot
nice.
of like artisans in the area that can just show them a photo of what you want and they just bring it to life.
Oh, awesome. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So you don't have to do things. DIY is not a big thing in Nigeria.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That's why maybe
It's not
there's no
cool.
IKEA.
Yeah. IKEA wouldn't do well there.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we've got like people in the carpentry workshops making things from scratch and it's
Cool.
not too expensive and they'll make it really well for you.
Oh, nice.
So I think,
Okay.
yeah, that's another thing I forgot to mention that because because I just realized that I was like, yeah, I want a 2 meter tall mirror with an arc shape. I have to like go on Facebook Marketplace or like look everywhere for it. But if I was in Nigeria, I'll just call up someone and be like, "This is my idea. I'll get it from Pinterest. Can you make that?" Yes, and they'll make it.
Okay, and you pick it up later.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah. So DIY isn't really a big thing. I think DIY is what I find to be the case. Yeah, because if you call a carpenter or a plumber for things, you're gonna pay so much more money for it.
Or they tell you like, hey, you're gonna just do it yourself.
Yes, or
Learn
just do
to
it
do it.
yourself. Learn to do it yourself. Yeah.
What would you advise to somebody who's also thinking to move to Canada?
Depending on what they're moving for, if they're moving permanently, I would say, and if they're moving alone, is different from if they're moving as a family. So I feel like there's different layers to it. But if you're moving alone, like I did, I would say that like be certain that you're moving, because I think I wasn't 100% certain until I think the last 4 months before I moved. Maybe if I had made up my mind at the start of the year, maybe I would have started putting things in place, and I probably would have been less anxious and planned properly. So I guess make up your mind as quick as possible and start planning early in advance. I
Mm-hmm.
think if you don't have friends in Canada or you don't know anyone in Canada, I think just doing a bit of research online to see like if there are some settlement services and just ask a lot of questions. Just ask yourself, what would I be doing every day of my life in Canada? And if you're able to list out what those things are, then you can actually look out for what you might need to be able to do that. So, for example, I want to go shopping. Okay, then you definitely need a bank and you need an account and you need a credit card. If I want to go to, I guess, the hospital, you need a medical card, you need a photo ID. So I think just doing like a day to day like stock take of what you think you might be doing when you're in Canada might help you know what you need before you come. And even if you can't get it from your home country, you're able to like at least prepare your mind for it. A lot of, and also a lot of things that I found that I couldn't do while before I left. So, for example, I was supposed to apply for something before leaving Australia. I should have applied for it while I was in Australia, but I forgot because I was in the middle of so many things. And then I moved to Canada, and then I'm required to actually send some documents back to Australia in the post. Whereas I could have avoided all of the back and forth if I'd done that while I was in Australia.
Okay, got it.
So I think it's best to like I don't know how to help, but I feel like I need to, yeah, maybe just think through things. Something as simple as even your mobile number. Like I had a mobile plan I was supposed to cancel and switch to like another plan so that I can use the mobile number while I'm in Canada to still receive like, 2-factor authenticator codes on my mobile number. I didn't change that for whatever reason. I came here and then I started calling friends to help me like get a SIM to change, like get an eSIM to switch my number. Like it's just too messy. So I think just looking at your day to day life and just yeah, start planning ahead. Some things you might miss and that's okay. But I think yeah, give yourself enough time to plan your move and just be very, and this is me talking to myself now, just be
Uh-huh.
very take it easy on yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, just take one day at a time. Like it's not going to be as smooth and you're definitely starting in a new place, so you don't expect everything to go very smoothly as if you've been there for years. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. And so do you need French? I mean, in Toronto, it's not
No,
the official language, but
yeah.
do you needed it for also the application for the residence card?
No, you don't actually. Depending if you wanted to live in maybe Quebec, yeah, you need French.
Uh-huh.
But nah, I didn't need that. I didn't need to learn French for my applications because most of the information that you're being provided with here in Canada is dual language, so it's English and French.
Mm-hmm.
So for anything you're doing, it's going to be in both languages, but also for applying to places. Some places would prefer like if you are competent in both languages, but that's not like a major thing. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If you're in the cities, like if you're in like Manitoba, no, that's not Manitoba.
Montreal?
Montreal, yeah, I knew they started with a damn. You mean Montreal? Yeah, probably. But I also heard that a lot of people speak English there, so yeah.
Yeah. All right. So right now you are okay with just English.
Yes, I'm actually okay with just English, but I would love to learn French. Like that's a language that I've been like it's been on my radar since when I was a kid. So
But it was because I'm asking like a few weeks ago my husband asked also like, "Hey, why don't we check out Canada?"
okay.
And then I did like a little bit of research like how do you get like a visa
Yeah.
for Canada, and th- I don't know where I landed, but it said like that I would need to make a French test, and then you need to send in the score.
I don't
And
know. Yeah. Maybe maybe it was for a visa that you were trying to apply for. I don't know. I know some people had to do French test,
uh-huh.
but I only had to do English test. I know that
Okay.
if you did the French test, it probably will add to your points because it's a point-based system. Maybe it would
Yeah.
increase the points that you have if you can speak English and French. So
Yeah.
maybe that's it. But I was sufficient with just English, and the points
Mhm.
were enough for me. So, but I know some people that had to learn French and do a French test to add to their.
Yeah. All right. I guess we're coming to an end.
Yeah. Oh wow,
So
that
I
was
have no
like
more questions. I asked you all my questions.
you did? Okay, that's great. That's great to know. And I hope like yeah, this is useful for someone listening. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think so. Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Victoria, for having me. And
I
I
hope
love
everything goes well for you in the
yeah,
very near future. I mean, also, just gonna add this.
yeah,
This is also like just before the holidays here, so maybe things slow down.
yeah.
So, and
Oh,
maybe you're like luckier in the new year. I hope it doesn't take so long,
yeah,
but I mean, it would be logical, I think.
yeah. Thank you. I'm hoping that yeah, it does. I'm hoping and fingers crossed that like it happens before the holiday because I don't want to go through the
Yeah.
holiday feeling this way.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah,
I'm also
I
hoping that
understand.
when this episode comes out, I'm going to listen back and just be like, oh
I
yeah,
feel so much better now.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, good luck, and I hope everything works out
Mm,
sooner than later.
thank you. I hope so too. Thanks.
Yeah, that was my conversation with Demi. At that time, she was just in Canada for about 1 month. But as you heard in the conversation too, towards the end, I said it's the holiday season. So this recording is it's a couple of weeks old. And by now, she has a job. I just reached out to her a few days ago and she just started a new job. So things are aligning and turning out better. And yeah, it's a step by step process. So congratulations for her new job. All right, that was it from this week. Tune in for the next episode next week, or if you haven't listened to all the other episodes, of course, I invite you to binge all of them. As well as if you want to reach out to me, then please send me an email at worldscollide123pod@gmail.com, or you can also find me on Instagram, worldscollidepod. And you can reach out to me there as well. Maybe you want to be a guest, or maybe you want to tell me what you really like or what you don't like, or maybe we can just chit chat. I would like that. And I invite you to it. All right, that was it. Enough from me. I hope you tune in again next week. Until then, bye.